Have you ever spent an extra 30 minutes tweaking an email that because it wasn't just quite good enough, or maybe you didn't launch a new website because it wasn't perfect yet? Well, if that's you, you might be a perfectionist. Because here's the thing, when you have that perfectionist tendency, you don't really have higher standards than the rest of us. What you really have is self sabotage, all dressed up in a super cute outfit. And it's probably hurting your personal life and your business more than you realize. Let's talk about that today. Welcome to the Clinical Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Rhonda, your no fluff, tell it like it is business bestie for wellness practitioners just like you who want to build a practice you love and make a bigger impact and a little money while you're at it. So if you're ready to ditch the overwhelm, attract your dream, ideal patients, and finally run your practice with complete confidence, you're in the right place. Each week, we're tackling things from programs to patient retention to marketing strategies that actually work, sprinkled, of course, with a little sass, a lot of heart, and the step-by-step strategies that will help you get there. So grab your cup of coffee, your notebook, or whatever keeps you going, and let's build a practice you love and a life you love together. Well, hello and welcome back to the podcast. This is Rhonda, of course, and today we're going to be talking about perfectionism. I, of which am one, I would say I'm a recovering perfectionist, but it still does sneak up on me. And sometimes when I don't even really expect it, I'm not thinking about, I think, oh, no, I'm not being a perfectionist when in reality I kind of am, and I just don't realize it. So thought this was a relevant topic to talk about because perfectionism is really a myth. It's like a little white lie, except it's not really a very tiny one. It's actually a really big white lie. And it's the kind of lie, I think, that kind of sort of convinces us that, we're going to not take a risk. We're not going to put anything out there that's less than perfect because we just need to have it all look right. We need to look perfect. We want our brand to look perfect, our company to look perfect. And I get that because I don't want anyone to think badly about me, just like you don't want anybody to think badly about you. Like it's just how we roll, right? But it doesn't mean that you have to have a sloppy outcome over a highly perfectionistic, you've got everything like all perfect. There's two extremes to that spectrum. Where we need to find is somewhere in the middle, and arguably, like from my perspective, probably a little more on the perfectionist side. I don't want to be in the 50% mark between sloppy and perfectionist, but I do want to be in the upper 50% somewhere, but not all the way on that perfectionism side, because there is a happy medium. There has to be. But let's talk about why do we think that we need to be perfect? I think it's not because we have high standards, in my opinion. I think it has more to do with fear of being seen as inferior, fear of being seen as inadequate, fear of being looked at as being stupid or not knowing what we're talking about or being uncovered or unmasked or something like that. That's really what I think we're looking at is we just don't want someone to see underneath. We don't want them to look under the hood, so to speak. We don't want to make a mistake, and we don't want to look like we're not good enough. And I also think that sometimes there's a fear of not disappointing someone. I want them to think that I have it all together. But if you've ever had someone say, oh, you're so organized and you always get things done. And people say that to me often, how do you get everything done? Well, part of that is I have a great team. So there's that. That's one aspect of that. But the other part is that I want things done well. But what I've learned over the years is that perfectionism is often a trauma response that's wrapped up or dressed up as a compliment. So I create the perfectionism because of a trauma, because I was told that I couldn't ever do it right, which is true. I was in a marriage for many years and was told that nothing that I ever did was right. So then I had to work overtime to make sure everything I did was perfect in order to make that person happy. Now, don't jump in the comments and give me all email and tell me I need therapy. Listen, I've already done all that. I'm all good now. But I'm just telling you that's what it was before. And I had to recognize that it wasn't that I needed to control the outcome to avoid shame or embarrassment or being judged or anything like that. I had to come to terms with that everything in life, when I strive so hard or you strive so hard for perfectionism, if there even is such a thing, and I don't think there is, I'll make my case in a little bit. But when we strive so hard for perfectionism, we actually are creating a stall. It's like a kryptonite. I'm not going anywhere. So then I can live up to the excuse that I am not good enough. Do you see? Did I make Does that make sense? That circular thought? Like, I try so hard to make it perfect, and there's no way for me to make it perfect. So then I just end up failing, which only reinforces that I'm not perfect. It's kind of a really vicious cycle, and it just protects us. Like, that's why we think that everything has to be perfect. So, you'll get something back from your virtual assistant or your front desk. I'm guilty of this. I have to admit it. I'll get it back and I think, I would just tweak it here and there. When really, if it went out like it was, it wouldn't be a big deal. And I have to just let go. I just have to let go. That is still a super hard one for me. Or something that goes out on social, like, the title's not quite right, or a few little words in the caption aren't quite right. That's on me. Like sometimes I just have to let that go. I have to make sure that the content is accurate, that we're not saying something that's not correct, it's factual, etc. But I spend time focusing on the little details that really, at the end of the day, they don't matter. I'm not striking that balance between being a sloppy Joe, all sloppiness, versus over here being, the queen of perfectionism. There has to be a middle ground. And so I think the good question to ask ourselves is, where would my life be, whether it's like my personal life or my business life, if perfect wasn't the goal? How much more progress could I make? And how much faster would it be if I wasn't slowed down by this myth of being perfect? Because the cost to us of being perfect is it costs me energy. I'm exhausted from trying to keep all the balls in the air, and I want everything to be just right. And I want my brand to be represented well, my company to be represented well, my name to be represented well in the community. I want people to like me. I want people to think, listen, I'm telling you about me. I think it's the same for you. We all want those same things. But what it does is it just costs me time, it costs me energy, it costs me peace of mind. Like I'm all up in my head about stuff. And then I'm not growing. I might be growing, but I'm not making progress like I need to because I'm so stuck in the little details that don't matter. And then if you have a team, the team can feel micromanaged. So they feel micromanaged, or like in my case, I think I'm like the rate limiter. I'm the bottleneck really because I want to see stuff. Maybe I just don't even need to go fix it so much. I just need to let it go out into the world and just be what it is. It's just imperfectly perfect. And that's the term I want you to really think about. How can you make what you're doing imperfectly perfect? Like think about a protocol with a patient. Is your protocol ever perfect? Never. It's never perfect. Well, what is perfect? Let's define that. What is perfect? What makes a perfect protocol for someone? How can you know it's perfect? Can you know 100% for sure that that particular supplement is the exact right supplement? Now, I can hear all of y'all muscle testers out there. You're going to be saying, well, I can muscle test and I can. Okay, fine. But I still would argue that muscle testing is limited to your knowledge of the physiology, your knowledge of the situation, the information that you have about the patient. There's still some limitations there. How can you really know that what you're doing with a patient is perfect? You can't. There's no way to know that for sure because there's so much about the body that we don't even understand. So if that's not perfect, you're not perfect, the protocol's not perfect, there's literally nothing in life that's perfect. So when we try and do everything perfectly, we end up not doing anything with any level of excellent because we're always stuck on perfect. When excellent or good, great could be enough. So that's what I don't want to have. So think about this. Like if you were making, let me think of I know. Let's say that you have a resource or like a handout, some informational something that you want to give to the patient about the dangers of statin drugs, let's say. And you have an idea, you've kind of started to write it out. Maybe you even got it in Canva, you got courage, you got into Canva, the big scary world of Canva, and you got that all done and you're like, but you keep looking at it. You're like, well, I don't like that picture or I don't like that font. And you spend an hour trying to find a different font. And then you look at you're like, well, maybe I'll just run that through AI one more time and let me see if I can get it a little bit closer, or maybe I want it like 2 lines shorter. So I'm going to fix that. And then, I think that there needs to be a design element right here. I think I need a line right here, maybe a box. And I'm going to go search for that. And then you go down that rabbit hole and then you don't know how to use it. Then you give up. And weeks go by and you just keep working on this resource. In the meantime, your patients need the resource. They need it. They need to know about the dangers of statin drugs. They need to be able to go back to their doctor and say, here are the studies that show the dangers and the risks, and these are not what I'm on board for. You've got your citations in there, you have it all, it's all good. But because I'll say we, because we get stuck in this or some version of this story that it has to be exactly perfect, like literally down to every little detail, then what happens is we don't make progress. So the enemy of perfection is progress. We just don't make progress. And in nature, there is nothing that's perfect. There is no perfect system. I mean, the body's made up of systems. Businesses have systems. The ocean is a system. The woods, nature is a system. The desert is a system. A subdivision is a system. And there are imperfections everywhere. But where we thrive, I think where nature thrives and survives is through adaptation, which means if we have to adapt, it wasn't perfect in the first place. So we adapt, we change, we shift as we need to based on what is happening in the environment. And so then therefore that means that what I'm doing right now can never be perfect. Yes, it might be great for the moment, but it isn't ever going to be perfect. So when you look at like your business, and that's what I'm always talking about here, when you look at your business, what are the things in your business that you're not taking action on because you're afraid of not doing it perfectly? Website is a perfect example. I see this all the time in Clinical Business Academy. Practitioners will say, well, I just want this little thing tweaked on my website. I want this little thing tweaked on my website. And they'll spend so much time, like couple 3 months working on their website. In my mind, I'm like, yeah, those are all things that you could definitely do and you need to do. The homepage is the most important. The call to action is the most important. Besides that, make sure you have a good about page and call it a day. You can fix all that other stuff as you go, but the whole thing doesn't have to be perfect. Make sure your website is clear about who you're talking to so that someone knows the problem you solve when they get there. It's very specific. People are looking for specialists. You want to be the specialist on blank, about blank. But then to get down in the minutia and spend 3 months working on a website, what has that cost you in your business? What does that cost you in the way of time? What about your social media? You don't want to get out there and post on social media or do a reel. I'm so guilty of this. Like I have both hands up in the air, all 10 fingers, and I would put my feet and 10 toes up. I am so guilty of this. Not going on social media because I don't know what to say, or what if I sound stupid, or what if my gosh, here, I have a podcast. I have hundreds of people that follow this podcast, thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads. So what? Y'all wouldn't be here listening if you thought that I was like, a crazy person. I don't know. Maybe that's why you like me, because I think I'm a little bit of crazy. But I limit myself because I don't want to get out there and I don't want to look stupid or I don't want to do it wrong. It's never going to be perfect anyway. So just do it. Just do it. Just let the statin handout go. Make sure that your resources are right. Your links are right. If you're going to link to like PubMed or something like that, but just get it out there, because when I am trying to have everything all together, I'm not going to make forward motion. It just can't happen. So how do we then fix this problem? Well, I think this is hard to say. I am getting better at this, but compared to what I was, but this is the one thing that will break this perfectionism or start to kind of erode this outer shell of everything having to be perfect is to delegate something. I know that some of you listening, makes you want to have like vomit in your mouth. I get that. But when you can let go of something, delegate it correctly to someone else and let them do it. They're going to do it imperfectly. It is going to be a little bit messy. But it was messy when you did it. So get some space in your life by delegating something and letting someone else have a chance to do it. But then I know what you do. You say, well, now forget it. I'm not doing that because it's just faster if I just do it myself. And besides that, no one does it like I do. They won't know about how to do it. And I'm the only one that does it, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want it to be done wrong. I don't want it to be done wrong. Well, here's the thing. It's already being done wrong. Or I want to say insufficiently. That's not the right word, what I was thinking, but like not to a good standard, because you're doing everything. You're doing all the things. You're the chief cook and bottle washer. You're doing all the things. So how can anything be done well? That's the trade-off, right? We do everything and then nothing gets done well. We are so focused on having everything look right that then nothing is done well, or we just simply go to burnout. And that's not good either. We don't want that. So you can't grow a business. You can't grow a life on your own. Sometimes it's okay to ask for help. Asking for help. I heard this quote. I listened to a book called, I'm going to probably get The Boy, the Mole, the Horse, or The Fox and the Horse. And it's like a 45-minute audiobook. Changed me. I listened to it like 3 times at this point, and I'm just have it kind of on repeat in my ears and my. And there was a quote in this little book. I'll link it in the show notes, but it said, asking for help isn't giving up. In other words, delegating, right? Like, I'm overwhelmed. I can't do it all. I need some help. Asking for help isn't giving up. Asking for help only means that you are committed to the outcome. Because when you ask for help, you say, I can't do this, and I am so determined to get to outcome B, whatever it is that you're going for. I want to get this statin handout done, and I am in my own way. I'm going to get someone to help me. It's not giving up. It's not letting go. It's just asking for someone to come in and like lift up your arms. They're trying to help you. So if you can just delegate one thing, delegate the creation of that lead magnet, or ask someone to help you make some of those changes on your website. It isn't going to be done perfect every time, but you're not doing it that way anyway. It's not perfect when you do it either. So how about we train someone, we set up the system, and of course, this is what we do in Clinical Business Academy, but I work so hard with the doctors to make sure that their systems are set up. The systems form the foundation. The ocean would not be able to be what it is without the ecosystems within it. The forest can't be what it is without the ecosystem. So we have to have the systems. And so you just set up a system for a virtual assistant to say, this is how I want this done. Here are the steps. First, do this, log into this software, then do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. You can narrate it on a Loom video. You can grab the transcript. You can put it through AI, get a checklist, and then you can delegate that off to someone else to do. It's really not that hard, but we've got to get ourselves out of the picture so that the perfectionism can die. It needs to die. Not all the way death, because we're not going to go back to being, a sloppy Joe over here. But we do want to make sure that everything's done well, but not to the point that it's preventing us from moving forward. So, number 1, we want to delegate. When you delegate, I want you to think about the 80. So I like to think about this. If I'm going to delegate this to someone, I want to be involved in the first, it's actually called the 10-80-10 rule, but the first 10% I'll do. So let's just say for a podcast, I will say, here's the content, here's the idea that I have, and I'm going to utilize my resources, the people that I have, the tools that I have, and I'm going to say, okay, I've got the first idea. I'm going to do the first 10%. I'm going to delegate it. You're going to do the 80%, and then you're going to get it back to me, and I'm going to do the last 10%. That I can do. That feels good to me because then I can put my stamp on it at the end. And if the 80% needs to be adjusted, then great, I'll adjust that in the last 10% of the project. But that allows me to still have some say, and I feel like I have some ownership in what's happening, whatever the project is. I have some ownership in it, but I didn't have to do all the work myself because I was worried about it being perfect, right? Perfection is the thief of being done. Basically takes away the whole the concept of being complete. So I always say this in Clinical Business Academy. I'm like, look, we're going for B- work. And I can spot a perfection person right away because their eyes get big as quarters. They're like, wait, what? Wait, what? No, wait, what? I go, yeah, B- work. That's what we want. We want B- work. It's okay if a post has a typo because it just makes you human. But no one, even your patients, if you come across and you're just perfect all the time, you have perfect makeup, you have perfect hair, I'm telling you, there are all kinds of skeletons in your closet. That's why we work so hard to make it perfect on the outside, because we're kind of broken on the inside. So we need to get the inside fixed, but on the outside, on a practical perspective, one of the ways to break that is to delegate. And we have to be able to delegate comfortably, but not just delegate without any kind of guardrails. Like, you have to give them a system. Here's a checklist. Here's what I expect. This is what needs to come back. Here's how I want it. But delegate it before you're comfortable. That's how you break out of this perfectionism mode. And then, you can journal about it even. Like, sometimes that really helps. It helps process a lot of that emotion. Like, ask yourself, what's going to happen? What am I afraid of if this social post isn't perfect? Like, just write it out. Just get it out. Let your pen and your paper get the thoughts and feelings out. What about, what about is this my ego or is this because I really want to help people? Who's driving the bus? And it's probably your ego. And then another great question is like, what would you tell someone else? If you were sitting across the table from me and I was being all perfection, what would you tell me? What would you tell me? What would you tell someone else if they were in your same shoes? That's always a really hard question because we don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about that. So perfectionism really is the enemy of progress. And if your business is stuck, if your life feels stuck, if you feel like you're not making momentum, just take a minute and look at the things in your life that you might be, you might be holding yourself back because you have a standard that you're never going to meet. So B minus work is completely okay. It's okay to have it not go out. As I'm recording this right now, I'm thinking, oh, I need to take my own medicine here. I'm so much better than I used to be, but I can still see plenty of opportunity for me to just like let it go. Just let it go. Just let it go. You don't have to be in control all the time. And what happens is the freedom that comes from that, I now don't have to be the bottleneck. You don't have to be the bottleneck in your own business where things aren't getting done because you don't ask for help because you want it to be perfect. And there is no such thing. There's just no such thing. So you got to let you got to let people come in and help you. You got to find those people that can come alongside you and will pick up your vision and say, I really do want to help. Sometimes it might be your bestie from high school. It might be, a college student that's like studying the same thing, going to chiropractic school or acupuncture school, and you want to hire them just on the side to write, an email for you or with AI, we can do a lot of that now and it's just a lot faster. But I just want you to consider the fact that worrying about everything being perfect in your practice, perfect with your website those are the practices that I find that they stall out. But the ones that are much more, shall I say, like okay with it being a little messy, like having a messy bun in your hair, it's okay to have like a hair sticking out here and there. It doesn't have to be all perfectly, what I'd say, coiffed, where it's all like slicked down and beautiful. It doesn't have to be that way because life is not that way. Life is a beautiful thing in its messiness. And our world is messy right now, but it's still a beautiful thing. And your business can still be a beautiful thing, even though it's messy. But that doesn't mean you have to be a sloppy Joe. It means that you have to swing over towards I want it done right, but there is no such thing as perfectionism. It is a myth. So I hope this helped you kind of recontextualize how you think about your business. And if you're not a perfectionist, I need you to rub off a little bit of that on me. I am so much better than I used to be. Oh my gosh. In my younger years, baby, I was saucy. Saucy. Could not happen unless it was absolutely perfect. But it kept me I basically was in mental jail for a long time because I was in my own mental prison trying to make everything perfect in a world that's not perfect. And when I realized that the world we live in is not perfect. So how can one person do, and I think that that's going to be perfect? How do I know what perfect is? What is a perfect social post? I don't know what that is. Sorry about the phone ringing. We can ignore that. But what is a perfect social post? I don't know. But I decided that I wasn't going to worry about that. And oh my gosh, how much freedom that was. So anyway, there you go. Phone ringing in the background and all. That's how we go. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of my world. I love having you here. I'll see you on the podcast next week.